Hey everybody, welcome to Vlogmas Day 21. As always, it's your boy Dave Neal. Today we're doing things a little differently. Tasha, my fiance, and myself recorded our podcast, The Sap, and that's what we're doing today. It's kind of like a review of how Vlogmas has gone. We're talking all about our favorite past Christmases. Anyway, I could get into it, but you're about to watch.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to The Sap podcast, the world famous comedian-based interview podcast of dating, relationships, and other worldly advice. As always, it is your boy Dave Neal and your girl Tasha Courtney.
Hello.
We are coming to you live from the epicenter of the pandemic of the coronavirus in Hollywood, California. They say this is the worst place in the world to be right now.
Yeah, we're the worst city in the worst country in the world.
USA.
Yeah, I mean, as of last week, they were saying like 1 in 80 people in Los Angeles has it and doesn't know it yet. So they're just spreading it around. So right now it's probably like 1 in 40.
And that's part of the struggle, right? Is that it's like, come on, we're trying not to talk about this thing every week, but this is just where we're at. We have to talk about where we're at, and we decided not to travel for the holidays. And by the way, hello to all of our new people out there. There are some new people that have found us from the YouTube or the other locations. And if you're listening on audio only, hello, good to hear you. You wanted me to turn your headphones down?
Yeah, you're just too loud.
If you are watching us from the YouTube, good to see you too. We're merging people that like to listen and people that like to watch. Two different types of people. You're either mowing the lawn or you're at work dodging whatever you should be doing. In this episode today is the 21st day in a row that I'm making Vlogmas videos. Vlogmas is a vlog is a video blog. It sounds old saying it. That's what it is. And Vlogmas was something that was created a couple years ago by a fellow YouTuber as a way to have a good end of the year, a sort of YouTube algorithm spike where you just made videos every single day. I think it's meant for single people. I think this is a single person activity when you don't have someone begging you like, are you done yet? We got to watch Survivor. But I'm
pretty sure it's the other way around.
But so this episode is both a podcast, episode 421, I believe. You missed the 420 podcast. No one got high. We just did it. But I've done the last few episodes solo because we've been so busy with our weekends getting all these other things done for Christmas.
Holiday season. Just because we're not traveling doesn't mean we're not busy. I mean, it's definitely like, I don't know. It's weird. It's relaxing in some ways, and then it's like not relaxing in others because we're sort of having to pick up the slack, knowing that we're not going home and we're not doing our usual holiday traditions means that we're like having to fill that hole with like new holiday traditions.
If we filled it all right. Lots of holes being filled. Not the good kinds, folks. Just the mandatory. It always makes me wonder, though, do you think like busyness is just something you decide to have or don't? Like do you think you would run the race at the same speed no matter what you were doing in life?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I think in general, like I prefer a slower pace, but it's true that there's like lots of things that get us excited and lots of things we want to get done. You've been doing Vlogmas. You've been making all sorts of like holiday crafts and like.
If you're watching on the YouTube, you're looking at them right now. We have a pine cone here that we collected and used a glue gun, and Tasha painted it with like a silver frosting, and we made these really crafty. I mean, it's really stupid, but it's been kind of a fun. Like I feel like this year we've stripped away a lot of the BS and we've kind of made it what I think it is as a kid. Arts and crafts, dumb cookie, a ton of sweets, Starbucks, holiday coffees. I mean, we really the one
our
thing
tree.
We got a Christmas tree. I mean, the one thing that I thought this year would be if I did Vlogmas was an excuse to be like, let's go search for pine cones today. And it was never about like you said before, we have a pine tree in our front yard where we could have found pine cones, but instead we scavenged around LA and we went to a arts and crafts store, and it really was a good excuse to be sort of kids. Like we're adults. We're in our 30s.
Yeah.
We could have just been like the a-holes waiting in line to go buy our brat kids the famous toy. We could have
ordered a tree on Amazon, pre-lit, pre-decorated. I'm pretty sure you can get those. Yeah, like we can make Christmas whatever we want to be. We can have whatever kind of Christmas we want. But it is exciting when we have a little bit more free time this year. I mean, obviously, there's still always stuff to be done, but we have a little bit more time this year because we're not traveling. We we were able to like
to do things that money couldn't buy. Like money can buy a lot of things. They always say like, money doesn't buy happiness. It's like, well, it buys you out of debt. Okay. Like, so money can be good. It can be used in your advantage, but we have experiences from this Christmas that money couldn't buy. When you were on an episode of Vlogmas a couple days ago, I had Channing over and we did a holiday alcoholic beverages. We taste tested the different beers that you can get at Trader Joe's. There was a peppermint patty stout, a winter double bock, all these different beers. And I asked Channing before you came up to the roof, I said, what was your favorite Christmas memory? And he was like, I don't remember things. And I was like, I bet you I could jog your memory real quick. And I brought something up and he goes, oh yeah. So like he had all these memories of growing up in Christmas. And I said, what was your favorite one? And he said one year he came downstairs and his cousins, I think, they were all celebrating Christmas together, and they all got bicycles and they were all lined up with their own stocking on the bicycle.
That's cool.
Your eyes are lighting up, and I was the same way where I was like ready to cry. I'm like, this sounds amazing. Like, what, as an adult, what would you pay to relive those moments? And whatever the kid felt, whatever Channing felt, I'm sure his parents felt double that, because they get to watch their kids go, oh my gosh, I got the bike.
They're so happy to be able to give that to them, to give them that experience, that time spent with their cousins, with their family. Yeah.
And you know what Channing said? That and again, if you haven't watched this, go watch that vlog, because people did comment. They were like, oh, it was really cool you shared that story, because with these vlogs you can get zippy and zappy and you want to make them as quick and as possible, but sometimes you can't replicate like a good story. And for him to tell that story, he was saying basically he didn't realize that his parents were kind of poor back then and that they've gained money over the years and Christmas has become bigger and better. But you don't realize like your parents are young. My mom was a single mom at one of my favorite Christmases. And even as a kid, I don't know how she pulled it off, because she was in her 20s with 2 kids. We come downstairs, we're in our new matching pajamas. I have like a scarf on and a winter hat. You as a kid, Christmas morning, you just start putting on clothes that you got for Christmas. I've got a fishing pole in one hand. I'm running around. It's Christmas morning. And you have like the big fluffy slippers. I'm slipping and sliding. And I had a hockey stick. And I just had literally everything I was holding on to. And none of it like I needed, but it was just this fun, cool moment where, and again, it's not materialistic. It's like you've stripped away all other responsibilities. You're not late for school. You don't have a project due. Your mom's not worrying about her sales quota. You're just hanging out and having a coffee. Too often in society, we just like save that for Christmas Day. And again, every morning can't be Christmas. It's a special occasion. But it was really cool to hear Channing's story about that. How we all lined up, we all got our bike, and then we all went biking through town. Did you hear this part?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they all went biking through town, and that was the thing that stuck with him. So it wasn't necessarily the bike, which was nice, but the bike was the literal vehicle that got him to this experience he now remembers as an adult. And I think that's kind of like what I think sums up Christmas for all of us, is that, remembering the aunt or uncle or someone we got to bond with because, you got to play with toys. And how many adults don't get to play with a Nerf gun until they're setting it up for their kid. And, it's like we kind of struggle, I think, with looking past the little things in life. And this Christmas for us has been a good example to like slow things down. Like we mentioned, we're in a chaotic place. All the things that have kept us busy on this hamster wheel of life, pause it. Done. All we can do is go put our masks on, get ready. I mean, we were in a Starbucks and there was a little girl with her mask on waiting outside holding the dog as the mom was inside to get the thing. It's like, you don't notice those things in normal life, but 2020 has provided us with this very strange gift of appreciating the moment. You know what I mean? Like, what do you remember as a kid growing up? Like I know you mentioned you're getting that battery powered Jeep you and your sister
the Barbie
growing up.
Jeep.
But did you as a kid, were you ever able to look at like your parents and see the cracks in the ice, or did you just look at them as like they were like demigods?
Oh no, definitely. I definitely remember times in my family where, especially around the holidays. And this is one of the things that really has been a blessing. Well, first, the invention of online shopping, but secondly, having like a slower pace this year. Planning, my mom, like a lot of the responsibility fell on her shoulders, as I think it does for many women, like trying to put Christmas together. And she would get so stressed. She would just get so stressed almost every year.
Because of the expectation to make everything perfect.
To make everything perfect.
And you noticed
to plan
this as
all
a
the
kid?
gifts. Yeah, absolutely. Even the extended family. I know that she felt a lot of stress trying to buy gifts for like my cousins and not knowing like sizes and what people want. It's just a lot of coordinating, I think, especially when all the kids are young, when all of my cousins are young, like talking to the parents, what do they need?
So she's a full-time working mom, and she's got to go to brick and mortar stores,
run all over town, try and find something that a kid's gonna like, but on a budget, a good deal. But yeah, I just know that the holidays were a very stressful time every year. But then the day is magical, and Christmas Eve is magical, and the time spent with family is magical. That's why those traditions I think are still like so strong to this day, is because like all the stress of December is worth it when you get
that
2
coffee.
days of perfect.
You have that 3 hours from opening the presents before you have to throw out the wrapping paper, or in your family, it refolded up perfectly. My family, we burn it in the fire, light a fire. I'll tell you what, your mom's very thoughtful with her gifts. I wasn't going to do this, but I think, we should just pull out this gift that your mom,
Careful, hold it.
Just
hold
sent
it
to us.
steady.
Oh my gosh! If you're on the audio, go to the YouTube and watch this. This is a.
Just set it
I'll
down
call
right
this
there.
right there. A 20-inch. Oh boy!
Whoa!
Oh, and I almost spilled my Diet Coke. This is a 20-inch bourbon Christmas tree. This is a Christmas tree with we call these nips where I come from.
Yeah.
Should I put one in my Diet Coke?
No.
Would you have some bourbon in your tea right now? We have all this bourbon to drink.
Yeah, but let's not do
No,
it.
no, no,
I
no,
can't.
no.
I'm sick to my stomach already
If
right
I
now.
open half, will you drink the rest later?
No.
Okay, so we've got a lot of...
you can do whatever you want, but
All right, well, which bourbon would go with the Diet Coke? I don't want to use a nice one. That's a Fireball. That's a whiskey. Fireball's the only whiskey. Jim, anyway, point is Tasha's mom knew we wouldn't be celebrating Christmas with her family this year, so she went out of her way to get us a Christmas tree with a bunch of Kentucky
of this is
bourbon.
an idea of this, though. She just saw the little tree like on sale at Kohl's or something and made these little nip ornaments.
Okay, I'm going to drink this one.
This
is
it?
Cooper's Craft Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. I'm going to open it up right now.
See, you upset
me.
the balance of the tree by removing one of these
Well, I just got
ornaments.
fake snow in the mixer here. So let's do this. Oh boy, that's strong. That's going to put some hair on my shaven chest here. Going to need my Manscaped. Or put a little bit of my Diet Coke there. Hey,
Let
you
me
got to
smell it.
Here, smell it. That's a good one. Yeah, so every year we normally go back to Kentucky and we'll go do a distillery tour, like a wine tasting. We go to the different bourbon distilleries. They have what's called a bourbon passport. Yeah, it's a strong one.
I'll take the lid.
Here, you want to just chug it?
Honey,
Tasha was a little buzzed today.
I had a whole White Claw.
You ever have an accidental booze fest? We had an accidental booze fest today, dropping off holiday presents to some friends and family, and they were like, you want a beer? And I had that moment where I go, no. And then he asked me again, you sure you don't want a beer? And I go, give me a beer. I don't know if you knew this, Tasha. You can't say no.
3 hours and 3 beers later.
You can't say no to a beer twice. I said no the first time. He asked me again. I said, load him up. And the next thing you know, he's got a kegerator in the backyard at a very nice place, a very nice outdoor bar in his backyard. And also, and again, we're not giving anyone's location away here, but they had what I would call an adult. Well, you can't leave that there. I got the cross camera.
Well, I can't see you, so you're
All
just
right, well,
gonna have to put it back over there.
So we're gonna put the bourbon Christmas tree back. But I asked them. I said, "Is there anything during the pandemic?" These are our friends of ours. I said, "Is there anything during the pandemic that you'll look back on as sort of a moment where you were able to appreciate, something that happened this year?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "This year they built a treehouse, and sure enough, they had a treehouse that I would say would be a large portion of our full apartment." And they built this pressurized
like a half a kitchen
treehouse, and then after a beverage or two, we walked up there. It's fully lit up with nice Edison light bulbs or whatever those light bulbs are called. They had a TV up there, so we're playing music. They had a power source up there, and he's a teacher, so he does his Zoom classes up in his treehouse. And I'm like, that's how you take a pandemic and make it work in your favor. That's how you parlay.
Make lemonade out of lemons for sure. Pivoting, yeah.
He pivoted, parlayed. He took whatever energy it was, he moved to the side, he do-si-doed, and he swung it back in the other direction. And that's kind of, I mean, again, I don't mean to make light of people that, we've had a handful of past podcast guests that have gotten COVID and,
and not had an easy time of it either.
And it's not to make light of all of that, but it's to say, well, look, I mean,
and it's just a weird year. And, it's been an emotional roller coaster for everybody. I keep seeing articles about like how to manage your mental health during the pandemic holidays. And it's like, yeah, we could all use a little guidance in this area. And there's no one has it figured out yet. No one's done this before, but we're doing the best we can.
But you know what causes a lot of issues with people like wishing they were somewhere else, or, because I know we're going to have this Christmas morning. We're going to FaceTime with both of our families.
We're going to be really sad.
Well, I think you're going to be more sad than I am. I've already had to cope over the years that I don't do Christmas with my mom and stepdad and them so much anymore, but this will be your first ever, right? Away from your parents?
No, I spent a Christmas in Korea.
So in Korea, what did you do to not be sad on Christmas Day?
I mean, it was still sad, but I did what I could with the other models that were overseas. You
ate sticky buns?
We went to Starbucks a lot during like the holiday season and got the holiday beverage. It's funny how Starbucks is such a staple that it's like almost a comfort, especially for an American, I guess.
I say the same thing.
Because Starbucks is the same all over the world. So we could go and get our, our peppermint mochas with soy milk or whatever.
But we went to a Starbucks in, I think, Beijing on our layover, and I don't think they had the same menu. I mean, I guess they probably have most the same, and then a couple.
Yeah, the basics you're gonna get.
The basics,
and they're gonna have non-dairy milk options.
So you were in Korea with other models also missing their family.
Yeah, and so for those of us that like, I think we all kind of knew it was going to be a different year and it was going to be a little somber, but we like got some little small gifts and exchanged notes, and
Did you cry?
Probably. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But, it was a little sad. It was a little different, but it ended up passing like any other day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's still only 12 hours of daylight or whatever it is.
I always said that my first Christmas away from family was in Prague with a bunch of friends, and it was one of the best times of my life. But I also wasn't alone where I had the chance to ruminate over missing everything. Like, sure, I was like missing my family. They were all like around Christmas dinner. I called them from a payphone. I had one of those, calling cards. You call the card or whatever back in the day. But at the same time, I was calling them from the lobby of the nightclub I was partying at with guys that I had become good friends with. So the camaraderie with them was enough to overcome. And I think that's what, like with you and I, it's like we're going to miss our family, but at the same time, we've been so busy all of the Christmas season doing good Christmassy things that I think, we can miss them, but it's not going to, I don't think we've wasted any time not getting into the Christmas spirit. It's just a weird year.
Yeah, I feel like we talked about this at the beginning of the month, even before Thanksgiving, because we knew we weren't going home for Thanksgiving either. We have known pretty much since the summer that we were not going to go home for the holidays this year. And, we expressed like, here's how we're going to do the holidays and here's how we're going to make sure that it's really special. And I feel like we did all of the things on our list. We said we're going to get a real Christmas tree. We said we're going to make some Christmas cookies or whatever. We've got loads of sweets. I think we really spent from Thanksgiving on, like a lot of time, like taking advantage. We've got lights up all over our apartment. We've never decorated the apartment like this.
Yeah.
It's really nice. It's nice to like put on a Christmas record and watch every Christmas movie under the sun and put lights up everywhere and just like really get in the Christmas spirit.
Yeah, the house has always been something we just abandoned for the season. So yeah, I mean, eventually, like we've been talking about, just about building new traditions and knowing that like, look, we'll see our family soon. And it's not, I mean, I know a lot of people who listen are either living away from their family. Sometimes you make it home for Christmas, sometimes you don't, but we're all kind of spread apart. I feel more bad for the people that don't have close connections with their family in the first place. And what I would say, this is just a blanket advice to the one person who's listening that this might resonate with, but like use this time to patch things up and use the Christmas season as an excuse to, maybe just apologize or reach out with an olive branch to anyone in your family that you have, unfinished business with. We're too busy, even with our family. Family is the only people we talk to in a way that's so abusive. If you would only talk to your family the way you would talk to a barista at Starbucks, you wouldn't have issues. But and again, not everyone, but in some cases, we get too friendly with how we feel and express our feelings to our family that we don't follow the normal rules of society, and that can lead to, infighting. And that happens, everyone talks about over Thanksgiving, and politically speaking with your family, you're just not going to always agree on anything. But you got to know who's going to go to bat for you. And I, again, this is far from my world, but I have friends that just don't talk to people that are like their moms or their kids or their siblings, and it's like, what could possibly be that sort of much of a wedge in your life that you have to like abandon the proper communication with the closest people?
Well, you're also forgetting that like some people, I think you've got to leave it up to people to be able to discern whether or not that's like a viable option for them to be able to like smooth things over, or even if they want to, because not everyone has wonderful parents the way we do. Some people are raised by narcissists. Some people have, real problems, like real fractures in their family that will never be repaired, and maybe they don't want to have repaired.
No, it's a good point, and it's a good point that sometimes you have to take care of your own health first, and that's something that you can only like help other people so much. But a lot of issues. I mean, it comes back to like Home Alone. We've watched every Christmas movie over this year, and it's funny when you watch Christmas movies from like long time ago. Like Home Alone's an old movie. We're old, right? And you look at it and you don't even remember half the stuff. And like Kevin's neighbor, right? Kevin McAllister is 10-year-old Macaulay Culkin, 8, whatever his age is, right? And he's giving advice to the neighbor, the old man, who the neighbor doesn't want to talk to his son because his son's moved on.
They had a fight many years ago and they haven't spoken since. Basically, they're estranged is the story.
But how common is stuff like that where like one little thing drives a wedge and you go, I'll call him next time. And you know what? It's just like the war of art. We talk about resistance. You resist the things that you love. You resist writing the new screenplay. You resist cleaning your room. You resist things that are important into your life. It's never something passive. So for the Home Alone story, fictional, the neighbor, this old man, resisted making up with his son, and that might have been, spoiler, one of the best parts of the movie. And as a kid, it goes right over your head. But then you watch the movie, and it really is a flawless movie. You watch it, and as someone who really appreciates like a movie with a beginning, middle, and end. All of the pieces come together. The bad guys are caught. They're on their way out. Kevin and his mom have sort of reconnected and appreciated themselves. Everyone in the family's loving. And then Kevin looks out the window and he sees his neighbor hugging his adult son and his granddaughter or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And you go, Jesus, to even think that someone can write down a story that's fake and produce it, and I know it's fake, and I'm watching that, even retelling it, I'm like, this is so special. But it's special because we all have like something like that inside of us that's unresolved. So we have this basic thing as humans, the world, the technology boom, everything's easy. You're getting to ride scooters and TikTok and this and that.
But what's not easy is having uncomfortable conversations.
Right, that's it.
What's not easy is admitting if you've done something wrong.
Have we evolved as quick as technology? Technology can patch you in on FaceTime, it can do this and that, but can you just say you're sorry and you want to hug your dad? And in some cases you can, but that's something that no downloading Instagram or whatever is going to solve for you. The ability to look at something and go, my ego's preventing me from loving deeper, and I need to tell this person I love them. That's really, you'll watch grown men, and we watch it all the time. We just finished a season of Survivor, right? And of course on this is an old season we were watching on Netflix. But it's the semifinals. It's like they're down to the final 4 people. They've only been on this island for 30 days. It's not like it's been a year and a half. 30 days into the thing, and everyone who's in the Survivor, the final 4, they have a loved one comes to visit them. They immediately all melt down crying because they get to see someone they love. Yeah. And we take that for granted in so many ways.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how much humans are able to endure when they must, right? These people are living on like a spoonful of rice a day in the middle of nowhere, dealing with scheming and manipulating and lying and fighting and physical challenges and mental challenges. And then you see what happens when their loved one comes to the island.
It's like a trust happens. They go, oh, this person's not out to get me.
It's like they finally, like, yeah, it's like a weight
Someone
gets
in my
lifted
inner
off
circle.
of their shoulders and they just have a moment of relief and they can have a candid conversation. And it's like, wow. Yeah, to think that emotional release is what happens after you've been like on guard.
And isn't that
days.
Isn't that the beginning of Love Actually, the movie where they just observe people at the airport, hugging each other?
No, because I haven't seen it in a few years.
Well, we'll watch it, but I'm pretty
sure.
sure.
Watch it tonight?
Let's watch it tonight. But that's the movie, right? I think it's Love Actually, but it's every movie where it's like you're watching people hug each other at the airport. You don't need context. You don't need backstory. You watch a military dude come home and his dog kicks him over, and his kid's there, and everyone's the tree
That's
falls.
an instant tearjerker.
It's a tearjerker.
That's a universal understanding.
We watched it on
love.
The Bachelor this last week, where one of the contestants, his brother, the contestant's name's Ivan. He's top 4 on The Bachelorette. He's been quarantined in Palm Springs, hasn't had any contact with his brother, and his brother comes and surprises him, and his brother had been in jail and he struggles with addiction, and you just see the love. And again, nothing on paper, like you just feel it. You feel this wave of emotions and you go, if this wave of emotions can overcome me through the internet or through the TV, how real is that? And like you had mentioned with Survivor, you've got basically people, you've got the human body. It's crazy, right? We live in Los Angeles. It's a warm climate. Our blood is thinner than when I used to live in Boston. I get cold easier. The body adapts to the environment. You lose weight. If I start working out again, I get more bone density. The body says, oh, we need these bones to be stronger because you're carrying heavier things. You go in the water, you get little wrinkly feet to get better traction on the stones or whatever the heck the biology is. But it's all these things. It's one after another. I don't know what goosebumps do. Maybe we used to have hair, so the hair would go stand.
It tightens your skin up so the heat can't escape.
That's what goosebumps are for?
Yeah.
See, I didn't know that. I don't know why I get hard nipples. I don't know what boners are for. I don't know all of it, folks. But the point is that we see it on a physical level and we don't deny what that is. So why don't we feel it always on an emotional level? And it's got to do with some sort of systematic survival technique to not show emotion. But I think we're approaching a place in society where showing that emotion is the survival technique. Showing the ability to love, to let go, to feel things, to express them to others, to not harbor bitterness. And what we always look for every year, the end of December comes around and we go, what are we going to do to become better people for next year? And there's always like, well, you got to lift more. I need to do more planks. I'm eating too much sugar. Of course, that's all true. But also not just what we put into our body, but what we put out of our body is what's important. How do we get out of our body the toxic thoughts, the ruminating, the feelings of self-hatred? We've all got different things. I feel like I have my own sort of, like if I could just speak for you tell me if I'm wrong.
Go ahead.
I feel like you have self-hatred in your own way. You can't look at a photo of yourself without going, well, this over, you know what I mean? It's like, what the hell? And I have that same way when it comes to like feeling certain feelings of inadequacy. We all just kind of, it comes out of us. And it, like for you place a lot of value on, and again, as a woman in society has told you to place value in your looks and certain things. So like, God forbid you walk by the mirror and it's not what you want it to be. You might feel self-loathing, and that's not healthy. But I do the same thing when I'll go through Instagram and see some comics book at a stand-up show, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm an asshole because I'm not on that. And it's like instant.
But I think everybody feels this way from time to time. I also am disappointed in myself for like, not being able to like regulate my feelings necessarily, because I tend to feel a lot of anxiety. I get like really worked up over things that are out of my control and most of the time pretty trivial. But like for some reason, my limbic system is very sensitive, and all of those things are frustrating. I want to be more focused. I want to be more driven. I want to be more, I want to have like better concentration.
But do you think wanting more focus and concentration is another way that you hold yourself to too high of a standard?
Sure, totally. I mean, Petra Kolber talks about that in the Perfection
That
Detox.
you just that you're getting frustrated when you lose focus.
Well, that it's almost like what's the word? Like a snowball effect. Like, one little thing that's like out of sync, right? Or like an expectation that's off leads to more self-criticism, more disdain, and like it spirals into a bigger thing.
I've read this article and I want you to read it. I want to do a proper episode on this article where we take the other gender's point of view, but it was written by a woman and it was basically about how we need to do a better job of delegating tasks to the men, because it's not necessarily that they don't want to do the tasks. It's that society has let women be more perfectionists. So like if you take you want things done a certain way, and you're the type you'd rather do the book report by yourself than
it frustrates me to have to like micromanage somebody. It frustrates me to like delegate the task and then see it done like not right or sort of half-assed.
But what if over time you get better at letting someone like me grow into something, and you're able to not live with this sort of like benchmark that's so high? Because what in this article, and again, we'll do a full episode on it because it's really cool. But what the article says, it's like, it's not that guys don't want to do the things that lead to emotional labor. It's that their woman just like takes the ball from them and says, no, let me do it. No, let me do the Christmas cards. And the examples were, it was the emotional labor of being a mom, and they worked it into like, we don't have a kid. We got a dog. We don't have a kid. But if I had to dress that dog for school every day and everyone was judging how I dressed it, you would be like, let's take the dog out of it. So if we had a kid, the idea was like that, like, if I dressed her, it would never be good enough for I wouldn't notice the wrinkles. There would just be certain things that just don't live up to your standards. So it's like, you know what? Let me just dress the dog, the kid. So the idea behind it was not blaming women, but saying, okay, it's not just emotional labor, men are bad, women are good. It's learning that there has been sort of a bar set to a certain level of sort of perfection that is simply unattainable for certain types of people. Like I always say,
listen, I've had this conversation so many times, and I kind of had it recently with my mom, the nature versus nurture situation, about what was this? I'm trying to think how it got brought up in the first place. I think it had something to do with like schoolwork or managing schoolwork. My brother versus he has two older sisters, right? And my mom and I were like, well, is this a gender thing? Is this an individual personality thing? Or is this like a societal thing? Because I don't know that there's necessarily that there have been studies done, but I think that there is maybe an idea in society, which means it's probably relatively common, that girls from a young age are held to a very high standard, right? They're more likely to behave in class because they're told that that's what a good girl does, right? Whereas boys, rowdiness is excused with a sort of boys will be boys.
Leadership versus bossiness.
Right. So there's a lot of societal stuff that happens from the time you're teeny tiny that affects your the way you internalize, like how your personality is developed based on your own reflection, right?
But do you think you've got that society imprint on you, or do you think you were just in your DNA meant to be a perfectionist and your skill is the detail?
I absolutely believe that society aided me into becoming this person that I am. Do I think it's 100% society? No, I think it's a mix of both. I mean, I think that makes the most sense. Some people are destined to be messy and some people are destined to be clean. But if from a young age you are told that you are a crummy girl if you're messy, well then gosh darn, you best believe that you learn right away how to keep things tidy.
Do you remember any instances of shame growing up where you naturally didn't fit into the box that was supposed to for a young woman?
I don't remember feeling a whole lot of shame. I think I'm lucky.
Like slipping in school? Was there ever instance where you get a bad grade and you don't want to tell your mom because you're going to feel shame because you were supposed to be perfect in that class?
I cheated on
Here it
how
comes,
to
folks.
spell orange in probably the first grade. My friend Candace told me.
Candace.
Yeah, because
So
there
you
was
were-
no way I was going to get anything wrong on
I
my spelling
bet
test.
You cheated a lot.
Absolutely not.
I
no.
bet you cheated.
That's the reason I remember it is because it's like the one time I cheated in my life.
Orange.
I didn't know how to spell orange. And O-R-A-N-G. I'll never forget it.
How did you spell it?
I just wasn't sure. I hadn't studied and I wasn't sure how to spell it.
Oh, you must have been stressed out.
No,
That's funny.
but I don't think that I had a whole lot of feelings of shame from doing wrong, but I think I was also just one of those kids who was very observant and noticed other people's shame, right?
Are you afraid to be wrong? Are you afraid to ask a stupid question? I mean, not around me because you've obviously got comfort, but
no, I don't think so. I was lucky that I grew up in a house. My mom and my grandma were both teachers, and so I think they encouraged like a lot of. And I naturally did well in school. The only time I didn't do well was starting around fourth grade or fifth grade. Fourth or fifth grade math. I did not do well.
Oh, your
And
math
then
is horrible. Don't ever get a tip from Tasha. She's gonna
true.
guess.
You're
She's
so
gonna give you a
full
tip
of
with a
it.
question mark on it.
You're so full of it. But starting sixth grade, I had a very good math teacher in sixth grade, and it completely turned it around for me, and I excelled in math after that. But I think I never was, I didn't see, this is why you always call me autistic, because I like.
Oh, that sounds horrible. You are on the spectrum. You're for sure. Right in, folks.
I don't think I felt a whole lot of feelings of I felt shame when I knew I was doing poorly around fourth grade in math for sure, but I don't think I was ever embarrassed to raise my hand and ask a question, and if I knew I needed more explaining, because I knew that the answer was right on the other end of that.
But what we look for, like as adults, for me is like I look for laughter. I look for being goofy. You always like, and again, you're not.
So, but you're not afraid, just to turn it around, you're not afraid of not trying a joke because there's a chance it might not land.
Well, but I was never told I never had this fear of rejection. Like growing up in the sports I played, I've just for whatever reason was always gravitated to the position that makes me fail. Pitching, quarterback, stand up. It's always built on failure. Everything in baseball is built on failure. You've seen me fail on that mound where I can't get out of it until they have to pull me out of the game.
It's interesting because all success is built on failure, right? No one ever succeeds at anything their first try. I mean, they might with dumb luck, but when we're talking about like building a life where you've achieved quite a bit, you're standing on top of this mountain of success. People don't get to the top of the mountain of success by only succeeding, by only getting things right. They get to the top of the mountain of success with thousands of failures.
And that's the problem with social
standing up
media.
and trying again.
Is you normally only see the final success product. Whereas like with comedy, you go, look, if you told me, all right, this joke's gonna be really funny, but you got to go bomb 25 times in a row, I'd go, well, let's get those 25 out of the way. Now, don't get me wrong. There's been times like when I took that gig in Portland, I was hosting. I think I paid more for my airplane because Spirit Airlines messed me up. Oh, they got me good. Because if you didn't buy the checked bag, 2 weeks beforehand, it cost like $70 or whatever. They got me bad. So I knew I was losing money. I'm sharing the room with Jay, who's so grateful to bring me on his weekend of comedy, but the audiences were tough. And I didn't perform well, but I set this bar so high for myself that I couldn't possibly succeed. And I was like, why am I being so hard on myself when all of stand-up is built on looking like the cool guy who doesn't give two shits? And yet there I am being like, I got to do so well. And so my own perfection in that moment decreased the likelihood that I would even do well. And it was all, and I learned that by the last night.
You're holding on to expectations and you're holding on to results. I mean, everyone knows that you have a better time when you let go of your expectations and you just let it go how it goes.
That's like that creative flow we talk about where like when you're in the moment, you're not worried. And a lot of times with like any Olympic sport, whether it's gymnastics or like the snowboarding, if you like have a good early round, then you can mess around on your final take because I already got the good one. And that's how it, like with people that shoot their comedy specials. Oh, I had crushed my first set, so I was able to stay loose. And the second set was even better. I got to do some weird stuff. And that's...
Or like auditioning. We talk about this in Hollywood all the time. You always book the roles when you got so much other stuff going on already that you didn't even want to go to the audition because you don't need it.
It's what gets you laid. It's what gets, like, I always say, if you're having a hard time with the women or the men or whatever it is, date around, meet up a whole bunch, work on yourself, and don't put too much weight into one thing, and then the right thing will show up because you won't be needy, you won't be desperate. So of course all those things. So like, yeah, I mean, I've had to learn to be okay with failure in a lot of different ways, and realize that just getting up there and taking swings. But the true failure in my life is like when I don't spend the time preparing, and then I fail. I go, this one was on me. And I've had a few of those moments where I'll bomb on stage and I'll go, this one felt worse than normal because I
let yourself down.
I didn't get to where I needed to be to train for that moment. It's like if you lose a 5K but you train hard, fine. But if you lose a 5K and you were messing around for 3 weeks, well, that one's on you. You knew what was coming up and you didn't prepare right. And that happens here and there. And I go, that one stings way worse for me. But the expectations you set on yourself, it's like, I'm always looking at the things like that are toxic, like my age, where I am against my peers. We went and hung out with some nice people today, and I'm like, they're farther along than I would have been. And it's toxic, and it doesn't get you any closer to your goals. So there's a difference between, like, they always say, like, if you want to be a millionaire, the chances of being a millionaire are much higher when you have friends that are millionaires. So like surround yourself, and that's kind of might sound superficial, but surround yourself with people that you want to become and rise up to them, but don't hate on yourself for not being there. And as we approach 2021, in 2020, for a lot of reasons, stunted us with what we wanted to do. We wanted to travel. We wanted to do a lot of things, but we have to look at it as a time where it might have provided us a base. This might have been the bone density we needed to get to the next thing.
A foundation for a strong house.
Yeah. And it might not look that way in some sort of linear way, but I know I obviously have been home a lot more than normal. This might not always be the case, but what a gift it was to like not just be swimming in the deep end. That's my whole thing this whole year has been, for once since I was in my early 20s, I haven't felt broke and swimming in the deep end. And I am like a brawny, bullish kind of guy where I will muscle through. You've seen me do those 60-hour Uber weeks where like I come home with one eye barely open. I can't believe I didn't crash my car and I'm just barely surviving. And that does not, that might feel good, like, oh, okay, that feels good for the work ethic, but to have the chance to be in the shallows and not feel desperate, and actually, and for a lot of reasons, that might not have been everyone's 2020, but for me, that's what it was, like something that physically forced me to slow down and reprioritize and just look at things. And we've seen like just the growth in other ways where it's like I'm worth more as a voice than I am as a driver. I'm worth more as someone who's going to relate to others on a platform than I am as whatever. But we live in this world where when you want to do something creative, you're almost forced to do the BS jobs that suck your soul. Then you have to like refine who you are, and maybe you're better. Like I almost feel like, okay, I had jobs that broke me down. Now I'm glued back together, and you would think that being glued back together is weaker than the original product, but it's almost not, because I know where I came from. I have the gratitude to know that I came from situations that I never want to go back to. I never want to have to do some of these side jobs. I never want to have to think small and short-sighted and week to week and day to day. And I want to think bigger picture. And you can't write the screenplay and think bigger picture when you're worried about, can you afford Christmas presents that year? So it's really about like finding, but you can't tell someone, you can't tell someone to just think bigger picture. It's like, you just have to get out of your own way. You know what I mean?
There's this thing, when you started talking about it, it made me think of it. I wanted to bring it up. So I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, but it's called kintsugi, I think. Also known as golden joinery or golden repair. Kintsukuroi. It's the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery by mending the areas with lacquer dusted or mixed with powdered gold, silver, or platinum. I think the gold is the most popular, but repairing broken pottery with gold. And it's like, back to your analogy, like, you know, not necessarily stronger, but more beautiful, right? To be repaired, to be rebuilt.
And in some ways it is stronger to see someone who's like got scar tissue and they've got a story and they've came from somewhere. And sometimes in society you see these young, beautiful people, and it's not like you shouldn't hate young beauty, but there isn't as much a story to tell as that person with, you know, the crow's feet and the sunburnt nose and the alcohol vacillary kind of, you know what I mean? Where it's like that person lived on a sailboat. They've got some skin damage.
Well, you you know, life experience counts for something, right?
Yeah, and again, I don't say this as like saying everyone should live a life of misery, but I've never felt that I have lived a life of misery, but I do feel like I have put in certain dues that let me feel confident telling my story now.
You've earned your stripes,
yeah,
so to speak.
And in some ways, I feel imposter syndrome. And again, what I'm about to tell you, by no way is me co-signing this, but I did my Up on the Rooftop vlog, and it was just me. I put a camera up there, and it was a windy day. I put 2 mic foam covers on this one right here. I took one of them off, but I had a second one. It was so windy. I put that mic foam cover on that, and I just went up there and I just started ranting. And again, I feel stupid saying this, but someone was like, "Oh man, you're like Dave Chappelle," and I was like, "Shut up!" First of all, because that's like he's a modern philosopher, but like I've lived through the life of like grit and balls where I'm trying to just survive, and a lot of comics can't have a relationship through those years. A lot of comics can't give their time to someone else while they still figure out what their identity is, because it's hard. And I give you credit for sticking with me, because like you agreed to marry a guy who's not that successful in a monetary way, who doesn't have a lot of things that other people might have, but like I've just been depositing, you know, my retirement on equity of like my voice and what I want to talk about, and you as well. And you know, when it comes to Christmas, it's like, what do I want for Christmas? Well, this is it. Like I don't want much of anything material, because everything I value in life is like experiential and with those that I love, and just sharing our story. So that for me, my greatest feeling with like the podcast and YouTube and all that is just the chance to relate to others and share what my story is, and not in a way that's any better or worse than anyone else's, but just I get it because I'm going through it myself. And what I've learned, what I feel like I've learned, is that how can somebody else shoot for their dreams? You know, you got Ben out there in Pittsburgh. He's always commenting on like saying he appreciates me talk about my hustle, because like I don't want people to think, oh, you know, I just hit the record button and I feel good and the day's over. No, I got nights where I'm conniving and feeling like a piece of shit and other issues, and not feeling.
Do you even know what that means?
Yeah, I'm you don't think I'm conniving? You don't think I'm up there going, how can I get this thing I want to get? Scheming's a good word. I'm always scheming. It's pinky in the brain.
Conniving is like very underhanded.
Well, I'm pinky in the brain. I'm always looking, how can I get what I need to get so I can get my thing going? And
yeah, I mean, you know, when all you see is finished products, which like you said is a lot of social media or YouTube or whatever, all you see are these the Mr. Beasts of YouTube, you know, people who are wildly successful. It's hard to know what the roadmap is for you to get there yourself, for you to follow your dreams. And like, you know, as an artist, it's funny, you know, like as a kid, we're just talking about like, oh, what informs like who you are today. Boy, I was told so many things that I could never be. Couldn't be an astronaut, not good enough at math. Couldn't be a ballerina because their joints are done by age 20. Couldn't be an artist because artists are poor. You know, but that's not necessarily true these days. If you have a dream, you should be able to follow it, even if it isn't your retirement plan. You know what I mean? Even if nobody makes money being a professional dancer, because it is hard to make money being a professional dancer, you know, there's no reason that can't be a part of your life as an adult. That's no reason. I mean, there's plenty of successful dancers out there. So you have just a shot as anybody else if you really believe in something and you really want to follow your dream. But it does make it harder to achieve those goals when you don't see a roadmap anywhere, because you don't know anyone else who's done it.
Yeah, it's
it's not as simple as following the path of being a doctor or a pharmacist, because it's laid out right in front of you. Go to this school, you take this test, you pass this exam.
But of course, you have
Bingo.
a higher chance of being a doctor if your mom's a doctor. I was watching a football game, and the punt returner, they were like, "Oh, he's a rookie," but his parents were both Olympic track and field runners, and it's like, bingo! This guy knew he was fast. This guy went to the track with his parents. This guy,
everybody told him he could.
Ran out of the womb.
Everyone told him he could, and people conspired to make it happen. Right? His coaches gave him extra attention, right? They herded him into the best school, whatever it is. But like, in a lot of creative fields, a lot of newer type, like internet marketing, influencing, like all of that stuff, it's brand new and people are just kind of figuring it out as they go. So there's not a roadmap in front of you, and you might not necessarily have a person who can help walk you through, like, here are the things you should know.
Yeah. And I think with the internet, it is becoming more transparent. But like, yes, me, like, I got into stand-up after going to watch somebody else do a showcase show, which you eventually came to my showcase show as a friend when we were just friends, my first show ever. But I had done that show because several months earlier, my first week in LA, I was invited to that show. So it's like a cult in that way. And then I got to see bad comics work on their jokes. So it's no surprise to me that I was able to see the roadmap, because stand-up comedy is done in the public's eye. You work on things in front of an audience. If you just see someone doing Beethoven's Fifth on the piano, you don't know how they got there. And they were able to tinker and coach and this and that all the way there. So that's why I have been always comfortable sharing my sort of my life and the things that have worked and haven't worked, because I'm just
figuring it out everybody else.
I'm blue collar with that. I went to business school. I don't know how cameras are. I'm not supposed to know how cameras work, but all I've done is study camera and sound. And while it's like I take it for granted, when I explain things to other people that don't know, it's like, oh, I've got value with knowing what these things do and how they work together. So to wrap it all up with Vlogmas, this sort of journey of doing 25 straight days of video content that's highly edited, put together. I shouldn't have known how to do this and didn't know how to do this 10 years ago, but
you didn't even know how to do it last year.
I didn't know how to do it last year. I knew how to do it like once every few months. I could put a video together, but then once you realize it, what I've had to learn is perfection is the enemy of good. Good's okay. If I can make a product, I made a video a couple days ago and I forgot to, you saw me last night. I fell asleep at the computer. I was kind of kidding, like, oh, I'll pass out, and then I passed out. Like, you've seen me sleeping at my laptop trying to like finish these products, and many times I'm up at 2 a.m. just hitting the final buttons on it. But I've made mistakes. I've got typos in some of them. Some of the aspect ratios off, and you see the black bars because I forgot to size it appropriately. And I would say 98%. This is day 21 today. So I've made 20 days average of 10-minute a video. So I made 200 minutes I made a Titanic movie worth of content by myself, or with obviously your help. I'm not trying to say you haven't been a part of it, but I'm saying, like, without a production crew or someone looking over my shoulder saying,
or
do
an
this.
Editor.
Or an editor.
Or a director.
And of course the editing's the worst part. But I've been able to just run and gun, and with the only motivation being that I told people I would do this. So it's like, there have been days when it's like the afternoon and it's like, this is the darkest time of the year. The sun's setting at 4:00, and it's like, there's been days where the sun's about to go down and I haven't started rolling on that day's footage yet. And I'm like, I got to get going. Like for tomorrow, this is it. This is the video for tomorrow. This is probably the easiest because it's just, it's just editing the multi-camera together. It's a little different than normal, but we're trying to put together drone shots and this and that. But I've been in parking lots of Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts running my drone, meeting strangers. They're like, hey, what are you doing there, neighbor? Today at Starbucks, the guy's like, oh, you were shooting vlogs last night. At Walgreens, the guy's like, oh, you a YouTuber? I'm like, first of all, I hate talking to strangers about stuff like that, but I'm also like walking around with a camera being like, I guess I am. I guess I am. And I've always like kind of like put myself above that type of stuff, because when you hear a YouTuber, you're like, what up, fam? How you doing? Smash the like button with your head, like stupid stuff. And I'm like, well, maybe I'm becoming that. I don't know. But
hey, if that equals dollar signs.
Yeah, and again,
honey, smash the like button with your head.
Smash that with your dick. Hit hard. But again, and it all comes down to don't rent out your time. So if that's equity I invest in myself, the 1 year ago, like this week, is when I purchased Adobe, the Adobe Suite, which is $45 a month, Premiere.
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to, the Adobe, it's a cloud-based service, so you buy it, but on a monthly basis. It used to be for $200 you'd get Photoshop. Now it's like, no, you pay monthly.
Well, it was more than that. I think I paid like $600 or something
it's
for
a lot
the student discount. It was very expensive, but it
still
was
is.
like a lifetime purchase.
But it's made me a lot of money. It's made me money because I've used the tools.
That, I don't want you to sell yourself. I think this has been very creatively fulfilling for you. I think it has. Like, yes, it's been a challenge, but everyone loves. I mean, what you get such a rush when you overcome a challenge.
What did
right?
I spell? What have I spelled Christmas or Vlogmas out of? I cooked bacon and made it say Christmas and Vlogmas. You did it with the marker. I don't know if you knew this, but I did it with dog biscuits. And I spelt Christmas or Vlogmas into the dust on the window upstairs. I spit on my finger and I wrote it into the dust.
What window?
On the window on the top of the roof. I went. I climbed.
Gross,
I climbed the fire escape to the top of the roof at sunset. And my final shot, and I'm going to tell you right now, my final shot of Vlogmas on Christmas Day or whenever the hell this thing ends. I don't know if it's Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. My final shot. I haven't shot this, but I'm going to smoke a cigar with my Santa's hat on the roof as the drone floats away into the sunset. Mark my words. That's how this ends.
I'm just saying, look how excited you're getting about all of your fun creative ideas. I'm serious. It's I think been a fun, creative, and fulfilling challenge for you.
Thank you. And it has. And what would be probably better is if I was part of a YouTuber community because none of my friends really get what the hell I'm doing. And I understand that. And a lot of stand-up comedians, some do YouTube. The thing is, when you talk about knowing a doctor to become one or knowing the path, the avenue, I know some comedians that are millionaires because of YouTube, because they have found a global market to share their story. I've gotten phone calls on my live stream from South Africa, from Brazil, from Canada, from all over. And you go, whoa, there is a much bigger chance than, me performing in East Hollywood. So I do see the value of the global market there. And even if Vlogmas isn't a wild success for me this year, it has been a graduate degree in making quick content fast. In investing in things like I invested in Epidemic Sounds, which is $15 a month, but it's a license-free music, which is way better. If you listen to my vlogs from December 1st to the 2nd versus December 3rd to the 20th.
Every video you have ever made me is the cheesiest 4th grade project I've ever seen.
It's always like this. I'll play something for you. It's always just like this, which isn't too bad. But now what we have is stuff like this. This is
so basically what I'm saying is I'm going to need you to remake every video you've ever made me because I need good content for our blog.
So for Christmas, I want everyone to give themselves the gift of investing in themselves. Give yourself the tools you need to tell your story to the best that you can, and don't skimp. Doesn't mean you need to blow your whole savings on a camera. The tool might be something free. It might be the time. The tool might be having the time invested in yourself.
The tool might be time management. For me, it's like really important to get a really good calendar every year.
Tasha loves a good calendar.
I love a good calendar.
I put this in one of my vlogs recently because you were looking at the calendars going, oh, is this a good calendar? Tasha loves a new calendar. It's a part of her year.
Set yourself up with the resources you need to succeed. And that might be spending money on a cord or a camera or sounds or whatever. But that might be just like, talking to the people you need to talk to, asking questions.
Yeah. Learning, growth mindset. So that's the Christmas gift I wish to give all of you. I appreciate everyone who stuck with us during a very interesting and trying year. I know a lot of people that listen to the podcast are no longer listening because they don't go to work anymore and other things like that. So while we work through this whole thing, just know that I appreciate you guys sticking around. For everyone who's on the Patreon, Christmas cards are on the way. If you want to be a part of the Patreon, we do extra solo and road trip episodes every couple episodes a month, 2 to 4 a month, and that's patreon.com/thesap, patreon.com/thesap. The Patreon community has been paramount in helping us upgrade our equipment to really tell our story. And of course, Tasha, best fiance I could have for Christmas. While we will be away from a lot of the ones we loved, we will be with each other, and the love we have will be enough for us on Christmas morning. Plus, we have some cool presents to open up. So I'm feeling overwhelmed in a good way with Christmas joy this 2020, and I hope you feel that as well. So, without further ado, I'll play a song from Epidemic Sounds to end us. This is called Christmas in LA, which is where we'll be this year. Write in sexuallypodcast@gmail.com. Tasha's Instagram is @Tasha Courtney. Go over there. She always loves it when you comment and share her photos and all that stuff. Everyone loves it when everyone reach out to Tasha. Say hi to Tasha. And I'm @DNealz, DNEALZ. Anything else we need to say?
Check out Dave's YouTube videos. Check out the Vlogmas videos. There's a really cute video of Boone that I've been sharing around. And also, please check out our blog, our travel blog. It's wearetravels.com/blog. We got a lot of fun stories up there. And Dave actually owes me a road trip story from last year, where just our newest blog post is reminiscing about last year's Christmas road trip. Since we will be stuck right here in LA this year, we can reminisce about our good times road tripping cross country.
So get that bone density underneath you, folks, and get ready to take the leap into the next level of life. This was our Christmas episode. So we will see you next week after Christmas. Feel free to share with us all the Christmas gifts you got. I guess we'll be talking about our Christmas gifts. We'll do a Christmas gift review episode next week.
Oh, boy.
And all right, this song is called Christmas in LA. Bye, everybody.
I'm writing Christmas postcards out by the pool. It's 70 degrees in the shade and the breeze is cool. Yeah. Even though we don't get snow, I still think it's the place to go. Where the weather outside doesn't get frightful, it just stays warm and delightful. That's Christmas time in LA. In LA. Don't you know?
Sing with me, Tasha. Christmas time in LA.
I think your voice is improving.
Can't you see they're pouring out so thanks
Spoke too soon.
It's your mind. It's Christmas time.
Christmas time in LA. In LA.
If you go cruising downtown, it's a curtain of lights.
There's 3 minutes left to the song.
It's a really good song.
And the tree at the Staples Center is the prettiest sight. Now who said Christmas must be white? I don't think Bing Crosby got that right. The weather outside doesn't get frightful. It just stays warm and delightful.
Christmas time in LA.
Happy holidays. It's Christmas time in LA.
This guy sings the shit out of this song. In LA.
Don't you know it's
Christmas time in LA.
Oh, don't you know it's Christmas time in
LA.
Feel bad.
yeah. Oh, it's Christmas
If they're still listening, it's on them.
time in
LA.
Can't you see they're pumping out snowflakes down at the road? If that's your thing, it's Christmas time.
Christmas time in LA. In LA.
Christmas time in LA.
Merry Christmas, everybody. See you next week.